Welcome to the podcast. It is an honor and a pleasure to have you joining me today. This week has been going a lot better than last week. There's peace in my soul. I tell you, when the roads are covered in ice and you've got, 800, 1,000 kilometers to cover that day, it really wears you down. It takes it out of you. It becomes a very difficult job. But when the roads are good, I'm able to relax and set my mind above, focus on the things that really matter. And I'm very thankful for that God has given me the opportunity and the freedom to be able to set my mind on things above and focus on the things that really, sorry about that, the roads are just atrocious. And that's pretty typical of northern BC in the winter. The potholes grow, frost heaves grow. But I have talked in the past about ID 2020, and I do have an update to that. It is the digital identity that the United Nations says you have a right to. It's your right to have this digital identity. It's going to house all of your personal information, your banking and credit, your employment, your health care, your driver's license, your social security number, basically every element of you, including biometrics, is going to be packaged into a digital identification, which you will need to access any government resources in the near future, to log into the internet, all of these things. You will need a digital ID, but don't worry, the United Nations assures you that it's your right. You have a right to this digital ID. Now, what if you don't want it? What if you want no part of digital identification? Well, there's been no talk of any alternatives whatsoever. You're not going to be offered an alternative. You're going to be told that you need this, and that's all there is to it. And this digital ID is so invasive, so totalitarian. They will be able to track and monitor and know every detail of every day of your life. Freedom will go out the window, but don't worry, they will assure us of all of the benefits, all of the frauds that will no longer occur, all of the crime it will prevent, yada, yada. They've already rolled this out in India, and everyone needs to have this digital identity. There is finally some pushback against it taking place in India, but is it too little too late? I believe it is. I believe most people already have their digital identification, and it's going to be normalized and standardized very quickly over there. In Texas, they are actually implanting the homeless down there, giving them a digital identity already implanted in their skin so that they can receive handouts from the local charities and government. And a lot of them don't know any better. They don't realize this is the mark of the beast. They just know that they swipe their hand and they get food, they get coffee, they get clothing and shelter and all the things they need, access to health care, to dental and good things like that. All these good things, all these necessities come from that implant in their hand. Now, we have to really grapple with our perception of reality, because I think a lot of Christians are going to accept ID 2020 as reality. I mean, it's going to involve the World Health Organization, the United Nations, your government, the government of your country, your bank is involved, and all the big tech is involved. So it seems like all the major factors, that the healthcare system is in on it. Everybody that is anybody is coming together to make ID 2020 a reality. Right now in Canada, the banks are gathering biometric information on all the people in Canada. You give them a voice sample or your fingerprint to log into your account. The banks seem to be playing the role here in Canada of gathering biometric ID. In the States, big tech is playing a part in that. Amazon just came out with their new scheme. You're going to have to use your palm, the print on your palm, to make purchases on Amazon. They're planning to roll that out in the near future. And, all of this biometric data gathered through the banking system and big tech will be fed to the government as they're preparing ID 2020. In fact, in Washington state, you won't be able to get on an airplane. You won't have access to government services without ID 2020. And the goal of the United Nations is that by 2030, everyone on the planet, every man, woman, and child will have a digital identity. Now, I'm sure it will start off as a card, but trust me, it won't remain a card for very long at all. Maybe just long enough to get us used to the idea of depending on this card for everything. You'll be using this card all the time for every purchase, for every access to healthcare, for identification. It will be the card of cards. And it will be so vital and so important that if you don't have that card, you don't function. You can't function in the society without their beloved card. So when people start to lose them, as people are prone to do, it will be suggested that the card, being as important as it is, be implanted under the skin for security purposes. All of these things they're telling us are for our own good. They're for our own benefit. It will prevent fraud. It will prevent so many illegal transactions. It will prevent crime, yada, yada. It will be so good for us. And as the United Nations says, it's your right. You have a right to ID 2020. Well, it's up to you and I to take a step back and observe and look and be honest with what we're seeing. Is this or is this not the mark of the beast? And it's all culminating together. It's not happening the way I anticipated. I thought there would come a day where there would be a financial crisis, and the only answer to that crisis was to roll out the mark of the beast. I expected it to be, here's the moment, all at once, right in your face. But it's not happening that way. It's very stealthily spreading through society as we speak, here and now, in the present. It's rolling out. It's reaching into our lives. Every one of us, I guarantee you, the government file is sucking up all the data on you it can get from the medical, from healthcare, from the banking system, from your employer, and building your digital identity. It's scary, but at the same time, we've not been given a spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. So with calmness in our soul, with peace, knowing, hey, that card isn't our reality. Jesus Christ is our reality. He will provide our needs according to his riches and his glory. If they take away my access to finances, my access to healthcare, then I still have access to Jesus Christ. And he will provide my means, the needs that I have. And this is a time where we're going to need real solid faith. We're going to need to be able to turn to our Lord and Savior to look after us. In the meantime, we have a window of grace to prepare. And I honestly hope that you're taking steps. What if you are denied access to your accounts? What if you're denied access to healthcare? What is your plan? How are you preparing for that? Because I honestly believe in the next couple of years, we could be faced with a choice. Accept this, and I'm not sure if accepting a digital ID, accepting a card, is the very same thing as receiving an implant under the skin. The difference being, it's in your hand, not in your hand. You know what I'm saying? You can hold it, but it's not under your skin. Is it going to be, are you going to be damned merely by accepting a digital identification? Is that a chance you're willing to take? As for me, I don't feel I can take. It's going to be very difficult. I'm going to have to be prepared to step back, step away from what most Christians today call reality. The world system, the beast system, the world we all live in we're ruled over by monarchs that we've never met and we don't even know their names. But the top 1% own more than 2.5 times what the rest of the 99% own. So if the vast majority of the world pooled all their resources, it would come in at less than half of what the top 1% own. The top 1% are our monarchs. They are the rulers of the beast system. They're the rulers of quote unquote reality. And it's their will to have digital identification. They want to be able to track and monitor and control the population according to their will. Now, the beast system is here now. It's all around us. In Revelation 9, Satan, the dragon, is standing on the seashore looking out over the waters. And this is symbolic of him standing at the edge of the world, looking out over all the peoples of the earth. And in that moment, the beast rises up out of the water, having 7 heads and 10 horns. This is the beast system, and it currently is in the water. It's among us. It's all around us, operating right, its tentacles weaving through every nation. And it's only when Lucifer, when the Antichrist arrives, that it becomes manifested and it rises above the waters and sets itself out so that you can see it. Right now it's here, but you can't see it. And its goal is to give all of us a digital identification, and that in turn, it will be only a short period of time before that digital ID, that card in your hand, has to be implanted under your skin. And I fear that many, many Christians will accept it because they won't be able to see an alternative. And the only reason they can't see an alternative is that they lack faith. Who is their Lord? Who provides their needs according to his riches and glory? Is it the beast system that supplies their needs, or is it the Lord? And in that moment, we have to know, and we have to choose who is the one who looks after us, who is the one who cares for us, who is the one who provides for our needs. We all have needs. That's reality. There's no taking that away. But ultimately, who is responsible for supplying our needs? Is it the beast system, or is it Jesus Christ? We have to start preparing to step away from the beast system. We can't allow ourselves to be utterly dependent on it. What will you do without a job? What will you do without a home? What will you do without access to the grocery stores? These are things you need to think practically about. Now, prepping has been on my mind a lot lately. I've been really overly focused on it. And one thing I feel really good about is ordering a food seal, a vacuum sealer and bags off of Amazon. It was under $100 for a total of 100 feet of bags. So if I do 1 foot deep bags or meal size bags, that's 100 meals. So it's going to help me stock up tremendously on food. And I want to have a good store set aside because I don't know what the future holds. Perhaps the Lord brings us out of here before that starts. I don't know. I can't see into the future, but I am thinking practically as to how I will respond, how I will survive if I have no access to my bank account, to my job, to an income, to healthcare, and all of these things. And I hope that you're really thinking soberly about these things yourself, because the time for us to choose is at hand. And we need to have the answer in our mouths now. So thanks for joining me. And I'm not fear mongering. I'm not trying to make you afraid. I just want you to have time to consider your response and to prepare to back up your response. So God bless and keep you.